We expect this to be a relatively short presentation, but hopefully it will be impactful and relevant, and we hope that it will be beneficial. We'd like to think it will be. So we're just glad that you're here tonight, and happy almost May. Hard to believe that the year is almost complete, and pretty soon your students, a month from now, your students will be seniors. So congratulations. And it does fly by. Before you know it, your students will be walking across that graduation stage, and all this hard work will have borne these wonderful outcomes that we're planning on chatting with you about tonight, and celebrations of our seniors and where we've come from and where we're going. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Lustig. I'm the Director of College Counseling. This is my third year at the Meadows School. And I am joined by my wonderful colleague who will also introduce herself.
I'm Barbara Stewart. This is my first year at the Meadows, but it's my 17th year in college counseling. And for those of you who don't know, I work with students A through L.
Great reminder. And I work with students last names M through Z. But as you probably know, just having worked with me and us over the course of this year, we are very much a team. We're very collaborative. We oftentimes we work together and when it comes to our students and advocating for them. And so we hope that you will benefit from our greater wisdom as a team and our collective experience. So moving forward tonight, I should say, we are going to be talking a little bit about the landscape of college admissions, what happened this year, and some of the trends, how those trends and the results from this year will impact your students as well, what we're seeing in terms of application numbers and college acceptances. So just kind of a little bit of reflection and what we've learned over the past year and how we can share that information with you. Celebrations of and recognition of the Harvard Prize Book and what exactly that is, what it means. Senior outcomes, sharing with you some of our results already, where our seniors have decided to matriculate, and the lessons that can be learned as a result. So that's going to be exciting. Standardized testing, okay, maybe not so exciting, but standardized testing, very important as well. A topic that is kind of like the elephant in the room in some situations, but is necessary for us to talk about and to address kind of the role that it plays in college admissions, and how you and your students can plan accordingly. And of course, the summer ahead, summer months. This will be a busy and packed summer. It always is for our rising seniors. How your students can maximize this time, make the most of it, be productive so they can enter senior year being a bit more relaxed, hopefully de-escalate some of that stress that they might feel, and get ahead of this whole journey. So that is our agenda for the evening, and we're going to start off with the landscape of college admissions.
So as your college counselors, we offer realistic and expert insight into college admissions and the application process. We believe in transparency, and we want you to know what we know as it relates to the ever-changing landscape of college admissions in the selective world. I use the term selective because college admissions for 70% of the colleges in the United States is pretty straightforward. Colleges outline a set of criteria for admission, students meet the criteria, and they're admitted. There are no hidden agendas. Selective college admissions is a little bit different, and what I'm going to focus on tonight. First, let's talk about what the term selective means as it relates to the college admissions process. Colleges who receive more applications than they have spots for put a college into the selective category. The more applicants and the fewer the spots, the more selective the institution is. A number of applications to colleges has risen significantly over the past few years for a number of reasons. The Common Application allows students to apply to multiple colleges with ease, and the test optional trend has played into this as well. Colleges are also casting wider nets in order to increase the diversity within their applicant pool. All of these factors lead to more applicants, while the number of students being admitted has stayed the same. Let's look at the classic example of Harvard. For the class of 2025, Harvard had 57,785 applications and offered admission to 2,320 of those applicants for an admit rate of 4%. This means that 4 out of every 100 students were admitted, and conversely, it means that 96 out of every 100 students was denied. We took a look at the list of colleges that our students have on their list each year and found that many of the colleges on their list are elite institutions. An elite institution is a college that has an admit rate of below 15%. Here are some additional admit rates for the class of 2025. Brown had an admit rate of 8%, Columbia 6%, Cornell 11%, Dartmouth 9%, Harvard 4%, Princeton 5%, Yale 6%, Duke 8%, NYU 12%, Stanford 4%, UCLA 11%, USC 13%, and Vanderbilt 10%. Colleges also had a record number of applications this year. UCLA received 149,700 applications, and NYU received 105,000 applications. And this is just two examples of what colleges are facing as they're looking at their applicant pool. So what does all this mean for our juniors? Gone are the days when a phenomenal student can take for granted admission to an elite institution. The criteria for these highly selective colleges is not spelled out for all to see. This is where we feel that it's important for us to be transparent with you. College admissions for highly selectives is highly nuanced. What do I mean by that? Most highly selective colleges use a holistic approach to college admissions, and they are very upfront about what they are looking for, sort of. Yes, these institutions will tell you that your transcript is the most important piece of the application packet. It's not only the grades that you earn, but the rigor of the curriculum that's important, and that test scores may be a factor. That extracurricular activities are important, as are leadership skills, character, and demonstrated interest in what a student says he's interested in. That essays and letters of recommendation are factored into the equation. All of these things are identified and talked about by college admissions officers from highly selective colleges. But what about the factors that are taken into consideration that are not discussed? Those things that you have absolutely no control over, these are called institutional priorities, and they play heavily into the admission process for these highly selective colleges. Factors of which you have no knowledge, factors that vary from institution to institution. Every year these change. The provost or the president may survey their faculty and ask, what are they looking for in the next admission cycle? Perhaps half of the French students are graduating and they need to shore up the numbers for the French program. We don't know. Emory currently has placed an institutional priority on twins. Is that something that you can control? A few years ago, USC was looking for students interested in studying geriatrics. They were just getting their program started. UVA was just starting a marching band. Does your student play the saxophone? Maybe, maybe not. Colleges don't just have one institutional priority. Emory has identified 25. Your student may or may not check one of those boxes. And since they don't tell us what they are and they change yearly, you can't really plan for it. In other words, these are major factors in selective admissions that you cannot control. The purpose about talking about this tonight is not to scare you. It's actually to liberate you. To help you when you're creating your college list, you want to create a list that is balanced and that will offer you a wide range of choices. As you create your college list, put your schools into 3 categories: high chance of admission, medium chance of admission, and low chance of admission, and start building your list in that order. Make sure that every college on your list is a college that you will be excited to attend.
So piggybacking on those themes of the highly selective and competitive admissions season, we wanted to recognize, honor, and celebrate 3 of our juniors who have recently received the Harvard and been recognized for the Harvard Prize book. This is a recognition in the springtime to exceptional members of our junior class. And the criteria was relatively open, relatively nebulous, quite honestly, and pretty minimal. In my experience at the Meadows, this year was especially competitive for the Harvard Prize Book Award, and I think it serves as, in many ways, a perfect example of a kind of a microcosm of the highly selective admissions landscape, because we had a record number of students who were qualified for the Harvard Prize book. It only necessitated an unweighted GPA of a 3.75 with a minimum of 6 honors classes or APs, extracurricular achievements, and or an after-school job. There were no specifications and no criteria as to what those extracurriculars could or should be. There was no specification as to leadership or service, and a time of commitment and high character. So there were a record number of students who applied, who were competitive, who had put together exceptional applications, and 3 of our students were selected. We don't know. We know that they met the criteria as you see it, but who knows what else the Harvard Alumni Club was looking for. We can only speculate, quite honestly. This is, in many ways, kind of an example of just how the selective process unfolds, in the sense that colleges have so many exceptional students that are applying, just as we did for this recognition. And yet they only have a certain number of spots, a certain number of spaces in their class. In this case, a certain number of books to be able to award to a certain number of students. It doesn't mean that the students who did not receive the award are no less qualified, because they are. They are all exceptional students, and we are proud of all of them and what they've accomplished. We have to kind of recognize the reality of how this landscape and this process works. Ultimately, what we emphasize to students is to present their best selves in their application, to tell their story, to work up to their potential, and take advantage of all the opportunities that are available at the Meadows, to contribute and be their best selves, and ultimately know that things will work out the way they're supposed to. This prize book, it's not a guarantee that any of these students who received it will be admitted to Harvard, and it's not it's not a reflection of the potential for success for the other students who did not receive it. It's just one little example of just how competitive it is out there, and just how many exceptional students we have, not only here at the Meadows, but around the world, that are looking at these same institutions, which is one of the reasons why we always encourage our students to create a well-rounded, balanced list, as Mrs. Stewart was saying, with colleges that are well-researched, They're excited. Our students are excited to attend each of those institutions, so they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, so that our students have options come spring of their senior year that they're excited about, places that are going to be the right fit for them. So we hope that we celebrate these students, but we also want everyone to keep this in perspective and to know that there are so many great colleges out there that are excited to welcome your students. And it's all a matter of keeping an open mind and not being discouraged, okay, by just what's ahead of you. So we are, as you, if you have a senior, if you had a senior, you probably know kind of the timeline that May 1st is the grand date, the deposit deadline, decision day for our seniors universally. It's the day when all of our students need to decide where they're enrolling. And over half of our seniors have already deposited at institutions of their choice. And we're so excited and so thrilled by this, because to us, what that means is that our students are very happy with their choices. They have found their homes away from home. They have found their people, their communities, the right fit for them. And they were well-researched lists. They had choices that they were excited about. And they put a lot of time and effort and thought into this journey. They've been working extremely hard. They were very perseverant in navigating through COVID, through advisory and all of the challenges and the work that's involved in putting together their applications. And they've looked beyond just the name brand schools, just beyond the perceived, quote, prestige of an institution. So you can see just the sheer diversity and variety of schools that range the gamut from, yes, we do have a student attending Harvard. Yes, we do have a student attending Vanderbilt, Williams, Boston University, University of Virginia, these highly selective institutions like Princeton. And we also have students and we have students who are attending incredible schools that are going to offer them a wonderful education and a tremendous experience that is right for them. And, schools that many students have never heard of, whether it's Adrian College in Michigan, or whether it's Lewis and Clark College in Portland. We've just been really proud of our seniors who have chosen to diversify their lists, who are going to big schools, small schools, that are going to technical institutions, as well as arts institutions that have been recruited as athletes and artists, and have received generous financial aid and scholarship packages. So they have done an exceptional job, and we hope that our future students take note of just the adventurousness, the willingness for our seniors to take risks, to step outside their comfort zone, to look at schools that maybe they've never heard of, and to follow their gut and follow their instinct. So there will be more decisions as time goes on, but this just gives you some idea of all the amazing schools where our students have applied, both domestically and internationally, and just how diverse our students are continuing to look, and that we encourage our students to do so.
So we want to talk for just a minute about standardized testing. We encourage, in this day of test optional frenzy, I guess I'll call it, we actually are encouraging each of our students to take the ACT and the SAT test. And after they've taken both, see which test they feel most comfortable with. If they want to retest, to take the test that they enjoyed testing with the most. Because just because a school doesn't require you to submit an ACT or an SAT score, it doesn't mean that strong testing performance won't work in your favor. The majority of students who applied and were admitted to highly selective and elite institutions submitted test scores. So we just want to encourage students to go ahead and get that testing done. And then as they get ready to apply to colleges, we can sit down and talk through where does it make sense to send the scores and where does it make sense to withhold the scores. But just to have the scores in case they need them or in case they will help them in the application process is really a positive thing. And then we want to mention that College Board no longer offers SAT subject tests or SAT essay portion. ACT still offers an optional ACT writing, which is still required at some schools. So as you are getting ready to look at standardized testing, you might want to go ahead and check the website for the schools that you're considering to see what is their testing policy. Again, we are definitely still in the testing optional world, but some schools have gone back to requiring testing. So it's not as testing optional as it has been the last 2 years. And we just want to make sure that you know what you need and what is required. And then again, once you've got your scores, we can go back and revisit that as you decide which colleges you want to apply to see if it makes sense to actually send those scores. Students who wish to demonstrate knowledge and achievement in a particular subject through quantitative measurement can report their AP scores on their college applications. Only students who have taken AP classes at the Meadows can sit for an AP exam. College counseling does not send test scores to colleges, nor do we register students for ACT or SAT. Students register with act.org or collegeboard.org. Many colleges are test optional, as we've said, or test flexible. If you want to get a fairly comprehensive list, if you check out fairtest.org, it's going to give you that information. But you want to keep in mind that fair test can be subject to error, just as any website can be. So you want to make sure that you're checking with the colleges that you're actually applying to make sure that fair test is giving you accurate information. And then as you're considering upcoming testing, you can refer to our website for the dates.
Summer planning, what to do, and just kind of some big picture items that we recommend. First and foremost, we highly recommend and encourage all of our rising seniors to join us and some guest speakers on Friday, June 3rd for our College Counseling June Bootcamp that will launch our students on the road to success and productivity for the summer. That is from 9 a.m. until noon. We will be in the middle school common. So just 3 hours of your students' time. We're not requiring them to come in at 7 o'clock in the morning, but be there and be willing to and ready to get some work done. They should bring their laptops an opportunity for us to, again, work with our juniors and making sure that they've got kind of starting to get their ducks in a row in preparation for senior year. And then our August boot camp will be Thursday, August 11th. School begins on Monday, August 15th. So it is that prior week. And it'll be also from 9 a.m. until noon, but this time in the upper school library. So please encourage your students to join us, and it really is invaluable, the kind of work that we're able to get done. Parent response forms. Hopefully your students have emailed you, parents, with a link to the form and an explanation as to what the parent response form is. I did put together a little video. We introduced the parent response form in junior advisory, but I do know that some juniors might have missed that class per se. So if you're not familiar with this, what it is it's a questionnaire that we've asked all of our parents to complete, a series of questions that asks you to reflect on and describe and share with us highlights of your students' accomplishments, proud moments, times of adversity that they've overcome, their maturation throughout high school. And we particularly want to focus on the last 4 years because that's what colleges care about, is who they've been, from the time that they were a freshman to who they are when they're applying to college. The more insight we gain about your students and the more we learn about them, the more we can advocate for your students when we're writing application or college recommendation letters and we're helping your students research colleges. There are some students where, based on the parent letters and responses that I learned that I will start thinking, okay, this is maybe is a story that needs to be told about the student's a certain experience that really was transformative in that student's life. And so it's an opportunity for parents to tell us and share with us more about your student. What would you want colleges to know about your student? We may paraphrase some of your anecdotes, but really it just allows us to infuse our advice and kind of get to know your students with more heart and just greater insight. So, and create letters that are really meaningful to our admissions counselors that make an impact. And those letters, the teacher recommendations, the college counseling recommendation, are more and more important as colleges are reading holistically, looking beyond numbers, beyond grades, beyond test scores, determining what a student will really contribute to their campus community, who they are as a person, what makes them tick. So we appreciate your insight, your input, your transparency with us. Please email them to us in a Word document or a Google Doc by May 1st. If you still need access to it, it is available on our website. If you click on go to the Meadows School website, go to College Counseling, and then on the right-hand side, you'll find a link to website and forums, and it is featured there. Our website actually has a plethora of information that can be very useful to you, including things like financial aid and scholarships, which we'll be getting to in just a second. Summertime is a perfect opportunity to continue researching colleges, for students to not only to explore all the options that are out there and web online, but also to visit schools. Many colleges do offer summer sessions. Students are on campus, maximizing time, working with the faculty on research opportunities or maybe taking classes, summer programming. And so it really is invaluable to be able to get boots on campus. Maybe if you're traveling in a specific location for a vacation, what's the harm in stopping at a place and checking it out? The more our students research their options, the more educated decision they'll be able to make about the school that's the right fit for them. And coming into senior year, having a well-researched, well-rounded list is a really pivotal step towards having a less stressful senior year and getting a head start. It's an opportunity, of course, for students to reach out to admissions offices, to introduce themselves, to join webinars, to talk with alumni as well, and reconnect with current students and ask them about their experiences. So continue researching colleges, create a spreadsheet, get organized. If you're not organized, now is the time to start working on those skills, keeping track of dates and deadlines. That is a challenge unto itself because those dates in the fall come very quickly. So we want to make sure that we're not missing any deadlines. So research when those applications are due, what are the different components of the application, and make sure that you're on track. Summer is a perfect time to work on college essays. And I say essays plural because most colleges require not only the personal statement, which is a long essay, that's 650 words, topic of your choice, that's always available every year, but also supplementary essays. And for those of you who don't know what supplements are, they are short essay questions that are created by the individual colleges that are typically at more highly selective or competitive institutions. And oftentimes they align with the mission and the values and the institutional priorities for those schools. So one frequent question, for example, is, why are you interested in our institution? And that's where all the research comes into play, because you cannot regurgitate that answer. You can't write the same answer for NYU as you would for USC, as you would or even for any of the schools in New York or for California, right? So it has to be very detailed, very specific. It has to be very, very thoughtful. And these essays take time. Our students will begin working on the personal statement in advisory over the next few weeks, as well as supplementary essays. And that's part of what we do during boot camps as well. And we hope that your students will really maximize their time in advisory, get the most out of the lessons that we have planned to work on their college essays with us. And so we can guide your students to producing not just good essays, but great essays that will pop off the page, that are compelling, that will really make a student, I think, really showcase a student and all of their talents and all of the possibilities of what they will contribute, who they are as a person. So that's really important. We encourage our students to work on rough drafts over the summer. They have all started common applications in advisory. Oftentimes the essay questions are the same. The personal statement questions are the same. So they can really get a head start on those essays. Portfolios. If you are a student or if your student is interested in applying to art schools, design schools, film schools, oftentimes there is a portfolio requirement. Typically, it varies from school to school, but typically 12 to 15 pieces in a diverse and varied portfolio of art. And it takes time to put that portfolio together, including an artist statement, including descriptions of the different pieces and the mediums and what the meaning is. So take time to put those pieces together, especially if you are applying for a highly competitive art school or institute or program. Athletes, same thing. So now's the time if you are looking to play sports, or even if you have an inclination to play athletics, to compete, whether it's at the D3 level or the D1 level. Now is the time. If you haven't done it already, you should be contacting coaches. You should be filling out athletic questionnaires and highlighting your accomplishments, putting together, if you have not done so, putting together a resume, an athletic resume, showcasing your personal records, your tournaments, the camps that you've attended, your progress, coach information. We are happy we work with our athletic team to help our students as they contact coaches, as they navigate the athletic recruitment process. So we encourage you to reach out to our coaches, our athletic director, and us If you would like help in this, if you need video, a highlight reel, a reel of your playing. We also had a webinar or a panel on NCAA athletic recruitment, and some students who shared their experiences, seniors who shared their experiences in college recruitment from this year. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that, it's highly informative as well. Continue practicing and prepping for the SAT or ACT. Sign up early because spots do fill up quickly, especially if those tests are available at the Meadows school. Colleges don't care whether you're taking the SAT or the ACT, but the practice is really what it's all about. If you are asking, what's the secret to those high scores, it's putting in the time, quite honestly, and familiarizing yourself with the questions and the timing. One perfect way to start is going back to the PSAT that your students took in October of their junior year. Have your students actually reviewed the PSAT, their booklet, the results, what they got wrong, and why? Have they learned the concepts that they might have missed or the gaps in their knowledge that they might have forgotten? Have they logged into College Board to read their analysis? Have they linked their College Board account with Khan Academy? Have they used Albert.io, which is free to our students, to take practice problems as well as practice exams? Sit down and spend half an hour several times a week on prepping. That is a sitcom. The 30 minutes, right? You can do it. So starting now, I think will help your students prepare for those tests that can help make them competitive if they do well. So academics, look at opportunities to continue your academic passion, whatever your interests are over the summer. Maybe that's by taking a class, maybe through a GOA, a Global Online Academy class that is available through the Meadows School. If you go to the Camp Mustang website on the Meadows page, you'll see a link to the GOA classes that you can sign up for. They are not free over the summer. However, they are free during the school year, but there's such a wide variety of interesting, nuanced subjects and classes that students can take that will help students delve further into subjects they might be curious about. Ranging from everything from medicine to psychology to business practices and investment banking. So check out all the opportunities that are available. If you're not, and at the very least, we encourage our students to read, to be well versed in current events, to pick up literature, and to take the time to just dive into reading material over the summer that will help kind of continue nurturing their intellectual curiosity and keep those brains active and alive. Look for leadership opportunities, create activities for yourself over the summer as well. In terms of extracurriculars, this is a perfect time to maybe deepen your involvement and maybe pursue an internship or a job opportunity. Again, there's no one thing that a college is looking for. You can't anticipate what a college wants to see or what kind of extracurriculars they prefer. One of the jokes that an admissions director will often say, and that I've said before, is when a student asks us, do you care about community service? Is sometimes a frequent question. I'll turn right around to a student and I'll say, well, do you care about community service? Because we want to know what you care about and we want to see what you're dedicating your time to and how that resonates with you. We never do anything for the resume. You do it because you love to do it. And pursue those authentic interests, explore your talents, take it to the next level, and do something unique and profound and impactful in your community. Look for ways that you can make a difference, because there's a lot of impact that can be made out there. And finally, search and apply for scholarships. It's never too early to look for scholarships. Just the other day, I actually met with a sophomore who wanted to know what kind of scholarship opportunities were available. And there are, even for students who are 14 years old, students who are in 7th grade, students who are in kindergarten. The Doodle for Google scholarship. There's a scholarship out there for everything. Left-handed scholarship, Tall People of America scholarship, the redheaded scholarship. Seriously. So Google is your friend. If you're looking for a specific place to start, we have a list of almost 100 scholarships that we have vetted. And in fact, I literally vetted them the other day, and I added to them the other day as well. So if you go on our college counseling website, and on the right-hand side, you'll see a link for financial aid and scholarship resources. There's a link to Nevada and national scholarships, and I encourage your students to click on that. You don't have to wait for senior year for your students to start applying. And in fact, some of those scholarships come very early in senior year. One of my favorites and quirky ones is called the Zombie Apocalypse Scholarship. How would you survive the zombie apocalypse? And yes, it is due on Halloween. So the Coca-Cola Scholarship, for example, that's due in October as well. There are some scholarships due in September. So the earlier you start, the better. And so we encourage you to do that. Please, 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 if you haven't already started to have these conversations with your students about finances, about how much you have saved for their college education, how much you expect them to contribute, what kind of skin in the game that they will need to put in, and whether financial need is going to be a factor in the admissions in where they decide to enroll. This is an important conversation to have. And while it may be awkward and it may be stressful, the last thing that we want, and the most tragic thing that happens, is students and parents waiting until spring of their senior year after admissions decisions have come out, and suddenly a student has been admitted to their dream school, the school that they've aspired to, and they can't afford it because they didn't know what the financial landscape looked like for them, for their family. So we can help students craft lists of schools that are financially affordable, that offer merit scholarships, that award students for their academic accomplishments, if we know that financial need is going to be part of the big picture. So please have these conversations with your students. These are adult conversations, but it's time. Your students are, becoming independent adults in college, and they're going to be on their own pretty soon. So these are real world conversations that we need to have. Okay.
So we're going to kind of wrap up with words of wisdom. And one of the first things that I want to talk about is meeting with your college counselor to discuss your post-secondary plans. Up to this point, Ms. Lustig and I have been very proactive in terms of meeting with each of our juniors and helping them to kind of get started individually, encouraging them to meet with us. And as we move forward, it's going to become more and more important for students to reach out to us and to ask us to set up appointments for them. And some of you are already doing that, which is great. And we look forward to the rest of you kind of jumping on board and taking some initiative in that regard. So what I would say is that if you've got a quick question and you want to stop by, we can answer that on the fly. If you want to send us an email with a question, we can answer an email. We can set up a meeting. And whatever works for you is going to work for us. With the one small caveat is that we are actually heading into AP testing for the next 3 weeks, which is pretty heavy lifting for the college counseling department. So our availability for meetings is a little bit limited, but once we get past the AP piece, we are so happy to meet with you to help you with whatever you need as you move forward in the process.
Students, we encourage you to take ownership of this journey. You are the ones driving this car. We are your navigators, sometimes your backseat drivers. We are here to help shepherd you through this process, through this journey, but really you are the one who has to own this and take responsibility, do the research, put in the work. We are here to help you, as are your parents, but they should not be doing the work for you. Parents, we want you to empower your students. Remember, this process isn't about you. No matter how similar your children might be to you, no matter how many goals and dreams that you want for them, they need to make their own decisions ultimately, and they need to make sure that they understand that this is their journey. So we encourage you to support your students, to help them stay on track. But we need to be careful about not applying too much pressure and not doing the work for them.
And then keep an open mind and be an informed consumer. So you may hear about a school that's got all of the things that you're looking for, but since you're not familiar with the name, you have a tendency to discard it. And we're encouraging you not to do that. We're encouraging you to keep an open mind. If you hear about a school that sounds sort of interesting and you don't know anything about it, do the research. There are hundreds and hundreds of schools out there that you've never heard of that are absolutely amazing. And so we just want to encourage you to keep an open mind, do the research, and be an informed consumer.
On the lines of doing your research, we have a number of sources that we love to recommend, one of which is the Fisk Guide to Colleges. I affectionately call it the Green Bible because it is very comprehensive, very accurate, and it offers perspectives and insights from students as well as faculty. And it tends to be, like I said, very, very spot on and well researched. So definitely recommend that. Students also, I recommend a website called niche.com, NICHE.com. And your students are actually using Niche as part of their research project and advisory right now. Your students, if you aren't familiar yet, you probably will be. This week in advisory, our students are hosting a mini college fair, and all of our students have been given a research project. Basically, they've been allowed to choose a college of their choice. No student can choose the same school, however, that's the only caveat. And on Thursday, half of our juniors will be role playing as admissions directors. And they'll be sharing a variety of information that they've researched and learned about a college of their choice, everything from academic culture and opportunities to the admissions process. And the other half of the juniors will role play as prospective students and get to enjoy all the fruits of the labor and the research that their peers have conducted. On Friday, the tables turn and the roles switch, flip-flop, in other words. So the other half of our juniors will be role playing as admissions directors. These are time-consuming research projects, and it really does give our students, maybe perhaps for the first time, a taste of what we really expect our students to learn and the detail that's needed for them to know more about each of the schools that they are determining. Is it going to be a good match for me? Does it have the programs, the people, the opportunities, the location, what kind of parameters, what kind of opportunities are available, going beyond just the name brand and looking and finding that research. So the students are using the Fisk Guide, they're using niche.com to create their research projects. So, and we're really excited also because this is the first year when we're actually inviting freshmen and sophomores to join our juniors as well, and they will be participating as prospective students also. So they get to benefit from our juniors' research. So that's Thursday and Friday of this week. So if you see your students frantically and furiously working on their research projects, you know why that is. So we encourage our students to look at many resources, not just take one source as truth. So.
And then don't get sucked into the rumor mill. Run your own race. Don't take somebody else's word about a school that you're interested in as gospel. Check it out and see if it's actually true. As you start down this journey, we encourage you just to really kind of keep your eyes on your journey, not listening to your friend and worrying about their journey or kind of hopping on their journey, on their road. Keep your eyes focused on what it is that you're looking for and what it is that what your goals are for this process. Run your race. So just be cognizant that this is your time. I always talk to students about the fact that when you're in kindergarten, kind of your whole life has already been planned out before you, kind of as you know it. When you finish kindergarten, you're going to first grade. And then when you finish sixth grade, you're going to middle school. And then when you finish eighth grade, you're going to high school. But when you become a senior and you start planning out the next step, there is no prescription for that. This is something that it's the first time in your life where you actually have some opportunity to make some decisions for yourself. And we want to encourage you to kind of explore what that's going to look like for you.
Don't let the college admissions process affect your self-esteem. Don't let don't sell yourself short, and don't think that don't question your intelligence and your potential for success just based on an admissions decision, because life is so much more than that, than an admissions decision. We hope that we've kind of given you some insight into just how nuanced, how flawed, and how subjective the admissions process is at many institutions. Colleges are businesses, and they have their own invested interests in shaping their class. And so it's not a reflection on the worth of your students, on their character, on their intelligence, on their aptitude for success, on the everything that they have to offer. It's just a really competitive process. But our hope is that by researching all the options that are out there and getting excited about the choices, your students will land where they're supposed to. Things work out the way they should. And we are here to help them along the way. So we realize that it can be discouraging, it can be frustrating, it can be overwhelming, but we're here to help. And we can do this as a team, and you've got to take this with a grain of salt. One of the resources that you also have available to you, a book that I love to recommend, is this book. It's called Where You Go Is Not Who You'll Be. And it's written by, sorry, it's hard to see. It's written by Frank Bruni. Mine is dog-eared and underlined and starred. I think it's just an invaluable book that adds greater perspective and interviews from really just prominent and successful people about their journeys in college and their decisions. And so I highly, highly encourage all of our students and parents to read it. So keep your head on your shoulders, and just realize that it's going to be okay.
Visit colleges and pay attention to your gut instincts. Talk to alumni. When you're on a college campus, how do you feel? When you're walking around that campus, is it someplace that you can see yourself? Keep in mind, two of the reasons why students will either choose a college or reject a college, these are something to think about, is maybe it's a school you've been really interested in, but you get there on a cloudy, rainy day. You don't really like clouds and rain, so you kind of dismiss it. You're going to want to go back and check that out again on a sunny day to see, does that change your perspective? Or sometimes students will connect with their tour guides and they think, this is a great place. I can really relate to this person who's walking me around, but you're probably never going to see them again, right? So you want to kind of take some of those external factors and put them aside and really kind of pay attention to how are you feeling inside when you're on the campus. Talk to alumni, talk to students that are walking in the quad, go to the bookstore, talk to somebody who's, cashiering. Oftentimes that's a student as well. If you can eat in the student dining hall, that's a fantastic experience. So you just want to take advantage of your visits. An anecdote that I like to tell is at the end of my first year of college counseling, I had a student say to me, Mrs. Stewart, I'm going to the East Coast to visit 5 colleges, and I am definitely going to one of those colleges. And she came back in the fall, and I checked in with her and I said, how did it go? And she said, Mrs. Stewart, I am definitely not going to any of those colleges. So had she not visited, she could have ended up someplace where she wasn't comfortable. But when she got there, she didn't let her preconceived notion affect her. She just really felt, she walked the campuses and really got a different sense and was honest with herself about kind of where she didn't want to be.
We talked about the importance of having these financial conversations with your students. We do offer financial aid workshops on filling out the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, and the CSS profile. That's the form that most private institutions require. We offer those workshops in the fall, typically at the end of September, because the FAFSA launches and goes live October 1st. That is the first date when our parents can begin submitting their FAFSA. So you can, in fact, go on the College Board website. College Board is who distributes the where you can find the FAFSA, and so we encourage you to check out. The College Board is where the CSS profile lives, and the FAFSA. If you just Google FAFSA, it's a government form. It's free to apply. You should never have to pay for it, whereas the CSS profile is a slight fee. And we can help you kind of start putting together all of the paperwork that you need to be able to fill out those forms, whether it's your taxes and your 1099s and that sort of thing. You can also test drive what are called net price calculators. On most college websites, if you go to the financial aid pages, you'll see what's called a net price calculator that allows you to put in your tax information from last year, and in some cases your students' GPA and test scores, and it will generate an estimate of what your financial package could look like, and possibly also merit scholarship opportunities. The 2 most prominent forms of aid where money comes from is the government and colleges and universities. So many colleges do have their financial aid, specific financial aid websites that you can use and research to be able to find out what kind of aid is available. So that's something to look forward to.
And then again, be realistic when it comes to the list. Make sure it's balanced. You want to make sure that the majority of schools, or that there's a good set of schools where you have a high chance of admission. You want to start with that. And then if you want to layer in, again, some of those schools that are a medium chance of admission, layer those in. And then when it comes to the schools where it's a low chance of admission, you might want to add a couple of those as well. But you want your list to be balanced, and you want to make sure that the predominant number of schools on your list are schools you feel pretty confident about getting into. This year we had students who put lists together like that, and they had absolutely amazing choices. They had so many choices. It was a phenomenal experience for them, and we want that for you.
And finally, parents, please help your students understand themselves. Self-reflection, that kind of introspection and discovery of who they are, what makes them tick, how they learn, the environments that will be where they will be most successful academically, that will allow them to thrive, to be challenged, to maybe step outside their comfort zone and take risks, but in a safe environment. We encourage you to, kind of challenge them to think about schools that maybe they've never heard of. We encourage you to help them kind of reflect and think about, what kind of environment really will they thrive in, helping them find the right fit and match. Our students have been working diligently in Naviance over the past year, and all of our parents have access to Naviance as well. Some of the resources and tools, for example, they have taken personality inventories. They have put together college lists and used Supermatch, which is a search engine. They can research scholarships online. So Naviance has a wealth of information and resources available that we encourage you to sit down with your students and take a look at the list that they've putting together and the work that they've been producing, and kind of meet them where they are. I think this is, in many ways, we want to support them and we want to keep them on task and kind of just stay involved, but also at the same time make sure that they know we're here to help. We're not here to do it for them, but it's just going to take time, but it's all going to work out, and they've got the summer ahead of them to begin this journey. So, on that note, we are going to conclude our evening. We thank you very much for joining us, and we encourage you to reach out if you have questions or thoughts, if you'd like to arrange a meeting. As Mrs. Stewart said, we're about to enter into proctoring AP exams for the next 3 weeks. So unfortunately, our availability will be a little bit more limited, but we will be sure to make time for you, and we hope that your students will come see us. We encourage your students to reach out to us, and we look forward to having these conversations. Thank you.